Hey guys, it's Backlog Banter time. What's up? How's it going? I like keeping Abram on his toes for Backlog Banter here.
Yeah,
And we're around, we're here. He's separated from me now. Unfortunately, it's real sad. It's real sad, but
fortunately.
we're here to talk about the video games we've been playing, but mostly the games he's been playing because I have taken a little bit of a step back from playing too many video games over the course of. Are you listening to me? Do you hear me?
No, I'm
Hold
just
on.
checking my microphone. You keep
All
talking.
right, all right. Taking a bit of a step back from playing video games over the last week or so because Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is coming this Friday, and I want to just let myself breathe a little bit before I get into probably the largest game that I will play over the course of the next 2 years. Or not that it'll take me 2 years to play this, but it's the biggest game that I expect to play within a 2 year time frame. So Abram's
Here,
got a couple games. I've got a game or two, but
yeah.
yeah.
Here's the thing about the Xenoblade thing first for a second, though.
Okay, all right.
Because are you operating off of that 150 hours thing?
Lightly, but
Yeah,
also
right.
not completely because I know that has to be an exaggeration. I trust Botox Media
Right.
significantly more than I do the people at IGN and GameSpot and those people who are saying 150 hours. Bo says he's 45 hours in and he feels like he's or 50 something like that. He's getting close to done. So I think it's more around 60 70 hours.
Well,
Um,
the thing about it is, and shout out to Travis Northup who wrote that IGN review. I know him.
Friend of the show,
That
kind of.
kind of. I haven't talked to him in
We're,
several years.
we're stretching it. We're stretching
Yeah,
that
right.
that what that means.
I wrote with him. I used to write with him. We haven't really talked in a while, but he's a cool. He's a very cool guy. B, he's a
Sure.
very good
We'll
writer,
send him
and
this.
C,
Travis,
that
you're
was
welcome on the show anytime. I don't
yeah.
know you.
Travis is welcome on the show anytime. But C is that was for him to do literally everything in the game,
Sure.
150 hours.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So yeah, but I will have my Xenoblade thoughts next week. And
We'll
that's
see.
true.
We'll see what happens.
And that is an Abram being a promise. Is that can be the thoughts in the first 5 minutes of the game or the first 15 hours?
Abram
Who
doesn't
knows?
even finish the first cutscene.
But Tucker,
He
yeah, I,
doesn't get past the Monolith Soft logo.
I figured we ought to sit down for BLB because I have a number of games to talk about.
Sure. A
Um,
classic a classic return to when I would just play like one game and you'd bring a full slate. They used to happen quite a bit back in like
sure.
the early 2021 days, but
I have completed 3 games since we last reconnoitered,
Mm-hmm.
and I have 3 others that I want to touch on.
Sure, okay.
So I'll do a little touching first.
We love that here on BLB.
Yeah, we're gonna call this episode the touching episode.
I don't think I want to put that in the title.
We will, and we're gonna circle back around to why that's important at the end. The touching episode of BLB is going to begin with a couple of games I touched briefly.
Sure.
The first one, by the way, these are lock-on versus cards. Kind of neat. I like to.
Just having
People,
something to fiddle with?
I don't know if you noticed, but in basically, my hands are not always off camera, but I basically always have something in my hands when we do a
Sure,
BLB video.
sure.
Um,
Not at liberty
point,
to say what it is each time, but
not at Liberty.
no.
Great game, by the way.
Yes, great game. Love that game.
Um, I played GoldenEye 007 on Wii.
Oh
Now
yeah.
here's the thing about this. I was very
Is
excited
it
about this
called
game.
GoldenEye 007?
Yeah.
Isn't it not? It's not GoldenEye 007 Bonds back or something?
No, it's just GoldenEye 007.
Huh.
It pulled a Doom.
Oh, okay.
You know
Just
what I mean?
identical name, but totally different game.
Completely different game.
Okay, okay. That's why I
Uh,
was a little bit
right.
confused.
And we were chatting on the car back from Austin to Nebraska about how I was excited to play this game because I'm always down for a little bit of Craig washing,
Yes.
i.e., the notion of putting Daniel Craig Bond
Yeah.
into past Bond's stories. Because I'm sure I would like the older Bond movies. I'm sure I would.
Yeah.
But when I think
Probably,
of Bond,
but
I
maybe
think
not to
of
the same degree.
right, not to the same degree because I love Daniel Craig's Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Point being, I've played the original GoldenEye on N64. I don't think the game holds up at all,
Mm.
which is why I really hope that remake does eventually materialize, so I can play it in a proper way and I can experience that silence karate chop and things of that nature. Um, but GoldenEye 007 Wii was compelling to me principally because it's another Bond narrative with Daniel Craig and Judi
Yeah.
Dench and everybody put in, and it's very cool that Daniel Craig and Judi Dench and everybody actually lend their voices
G of Cats fame.
of Cats fame.
I
So
just
it's
watched
not
Cats the other day.
sure.
Yeah.
I
That's fine.
tannered it also. They
Yeah.
gave it 1 star in Letterboxd.
Yeah. He was. Yeah. He was in the room with me.
Um, so I think it's really impressive, and the game is frankly just quite technically impressive for the Wii. There's a lot of slowdown. I don't
Sure.
know that much, but the fidelity was quite surprising. But the thing is, I just don't think that shooters control very well on Wii. I
Mm,
know that that is something of a hot take. Um, but I think that the Wii is very good for certain strains of shooter, right?
sure.
And maybe if I put more time into it and got more used to it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I love the Wii remote. But in the case of this game, that's clearly just, I mean, it's a Call of Duty game with a
Yeah.
Bond skin, right? And sort of the principles of being behind cover and peeking out for cover and going and using ADS and everything, to me, it just doesn't quite feel right with the Wii remote.
Hmm.
And I feel like there's not quite that hit detection I want, and my aim is not quite what I want it to be.
Yeah.
So I find myself looking at GoldenEye and saying, okay, I get the premise. It's cool that Craig is here. Um, but I don't know if that's enough for me when the game just feels like, yeah, this sure is a first person shooter with Call of Duty's design philosophy and Wii remote controls.
Yeah.
And the convergence of that, I'm sure at the time was more impressive. The convergence of
Absolutely.
that in the
Yeah.
context of the multiplayer, harkening back, of course, to GoldenEye's multiplayer heyday, the
Mhm.
90s, very impressive. But for me, coming into for the narrative, I don't know. I will finish it because it's a very short game.
Yeah. I'm looking.
But
I'm currently watching a full playthrough on YouTube.
sure, you'll
Just to
probably
get it.
finish in just a minute or so.
It seems like the game's slightly over 3 hours long.
Right. So I'm gonna just sit down and play it. But I was whelmed
Yeah.
initially.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't. Frankly, if you'd shown me gameplay of this and I didn't see Daniel Craig's face, there's nothing about this that says James Bond at all. I mean, he seems to be using an AK in this clip that I'm watching right now.
Right.
And I don't think I've ever really watched James Bond use like an automatic a weapon. He's much more of a pistol guy.
Well, here's the thing about it, right? First of all, you dirty, dirty boy. He's using automatic rifles all over the second best film of 2021, No
Oh,
Time to Die.
well, see, the thing is, I forgot about that movie. I also probably slept through most of it.
Sure. But the other thing is, uh,
Wasn't loud
what
enough for me. Very quiet, understated to film.
sure. What is interesting about this game is that in my experience, it's predicated largely upon going in quiet. Now you can
Sure.
go loud and you have to sometimes
Hmm.
when one of the AI bumbles into fucking your cone of vision, they see you, right? But you can go in with your silence P99 and shoot people, take out security cameras, hack things, right? So that sort of bondness is there, but ultimately it's like Bond doesn't really go on Call of Duty missions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but at a certain point, you're making a first-person shooter. So what you can do is take these tenets of Bond, the sort of the stealth and the
Mm,
silencer and the pistol and the hacking shit and all of that,
sure.
and make a game out of it, right?
Yeah.
And
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 also,
they
that's
do.
just what every first-person shooter campaign does anyway.
Yeah, but there's a higher emphasis on it. It's not like, and now it's the stealth section,
Sure.
as
Sure.
Call of Duty is wont to do
Hmm.
sometimes. The whole game is dynamic in and out of stealth, which most first person shooters do now, but they don't
Yes.
usually lead with stealth the way that this game does.
Fair. Yeah.
So
What else you got?
I'll hit you with another little touching
Who else you
of
touch?
I touched Metal Gear Rising
Oh
Revengeance.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Um, I wanted to get a physical copy of this game when we were doing our great game haul.
Hmm.
I couldn't find one, but I was back home and I saw that it was
Well,
on
we
sale.
did find one, but then you were like, I'll see if I can find it for a better price
No,
or
that was
something.
on PS3. We never found. I found
Um,
Cyberpunk on Xbox, and I was like, I will get this for a better price.
um,
So I didn't. But the point is, I was on the Xbox store, and Revengeance was down to 9.99. I'm like, I'm not finding
Correct. Of
I'm
course
not
not.
finding a physical copy for us.
No way.
So I bought it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna hop in and try it. And the more platinum games I play, the more I feel like Bayonetta is an anomaly.
Sure.
Um, because I'm not really impressed by any of the games they've made outside of this.
Hmm.
And Metal Gear Rising Revengeance kind of falls into that for me. I think the game has a great sense of style and spectacle, but that combat just doesn't feel right to me.
Mm.
Uh, you don't have a dodge, which I think is the
Oh,
reason
sorry.
that the reason that really bugs me is because it feels like Raiden is really stuck to the ground,
Mm.
except for when he's ninja running. Basically, you can hold down right trigger and run, and he'll just like free run and parkour over shit.
Sure.
So
That's
it's sort
cool.
of it is cool, but it results in the feeling of like there's two modes of traversal: stuck to the grounditude,
Hmm.
and Raiden does all the platforming for you.
Yeah, without
Yeah,
having to do too much input.
and so then when I'm there and I'm surrounded by dudes, I wish I could just roll out and be dynamic because I'm a fucking cyborg ninja, right?
Yeah.
But what I have to do instead is stand here and wait and parry. Your only
Mm.
defensive option is a parry. which is already not really my cup of tea in an action title. But when that's literally my only option,
Mm-hmm.
I can't quite get my bearing on the ground. And as
Sure.
Sarah was saying in our Discord, who is much more of the character action aficionado than I am,
Yeah.
she was sort of talking about how the parry doesn't even quite feel right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll default to her on
Yeah.
that because it doesn't feel right to me, but I'm also suck at parrying.
Yeah.
So, she's got the final word there.
The only
So
parry I could ever get my hands around is the
the
parry with.
platypus.
Let's not go there. That's for the next episode. The parry in Bloodborne, which is a gun and not a sword. It's not even
Sure.
a block. You just shoot the guy when he's about to attack you, and
Yeah.
you shove a stick up his ass.
God, I wish.
Great fucking God. You know that? Have you seen the thing in Bloodborne where you shove your hand deep in a giant pig's ass?
No,
No, it's a classic thing.
I see. But yeah, I just like I can't rock with the core of the gameplay philosophy, but the style and spectacle is really cool and riding's cool. But this game also suffers.
Bloodborne pig ass.
This game just suffers from the
Oh, there's
mid
a lot of them.
2000s philosophy of what if everything was some permutation of gray?
Sure. Yeah.
And so I just don't feel a lot of motivation to play this one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the Metal Gear Solid guy as much as I guess I wish I was. But this game I've always heard a lot of good things about. Frankly, I haven't
Yeah.
heard anyone not complain about it like you do, but give it as middling of first impressions as you do, because basically everything I hear about this game is like, oh, it's one of the great early character action games, and oh, what a great spin-off for Metal Gear Solid, and one of the favorite games of all time kind of
Sure.
top list and stuff like that.
That is fair, but it's also a cult classic. So the
Yeah.
people talking about it are evangelizing it.
Of course.
And there's
But that also
obviously-
applies to a lot of the most popular games of all time. That's
Right.
why Earthbound is as popular as it is. That's why a lot of those early JRPGs or early hack and slash and stuff
Sure.
like that.
But point being, it's a cult classic. It's
Yeah.
when people think of the best character action games,
Mhm.
if they're talking about a platinum game, they're going to talk about Bayonetta. But if they're talking about the very best, they're going to Devil May Cry 3 and X and Y
Sure.
and Z,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And maybe some people put MGRR in there, but it's similar in the sense to people who watch Blade Runner for the first time
Mhm.
and say this movie's fucking boring and slow and nothing happens. When Blade Runner, as understood as a cult classic
Yeah.
by people like myself, say it's the antithesis of that, right?
Sure.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
point being, I've had my fill of MGRR for now, but it'll go in the astral train rotation of games that I start like once every 6 months and remember why I don't like it.
When was the last time you played Astral Chain or gave it a try?
I don't remember, but I've done it 2 or 3 times since 2019.
Sure.
I do want to try it again though, because I think it looked really pretty on my Switch OLED.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I want to play another platinum game that I enjoy before Bayonetta 3. That's my goal right now.
What else do you have on your list to try?
I want to try Nier again.
Oh yeah, that's right. That is right. Yeah, yeah.
I wanna try
that.
Nier again.
That is a different kind of.
Right.
I don't even know if you would consider that cult classic now. Maybe.
I think you
but
still would.
But it's sold a lot.
How many copies of the game sold actually? Do you know?
I mean, especially in comparison to what you were saying about Revengeance.
I'll eat some crow if this game has sold a lot of copies, but I want to say
5.5 million units.
So it's a success, but it's not a huge success.
Yeah, I mean,
in the pantheon of big games, that's not.
Yeah, but that's more than your average game.
No, it's more than your average game. But point being, it's a breakout success, but it's not fucking.
Sure.
Again, it's not headlining. My point being, Platinum makes.
6.5 million.
Okay. I mean, it's on everything. It's ubiquitous.
Yeah.
But I think it's too early to call it classic. But I don't want to get you started on this conversation.
Sure.
Point being, I want to try that game and Astral Chain, but it's like I don't like Vanquish very much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Star Fox Zero.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about this game. I'm not crazy about either of the other 2 games I listed, but I want to try them again.
Wonderful 101.
I've played very little Wonderful 101, and I didn't really get it.
Let's get off this platinum fucking train. What do you got next? Who else did you touch? I'm gonna start asking you this every day. Just wake up in the morning. Hey, how's it going? Who'd you touch? Who are you planning on touching today?
Ooh, boy. The other game I touched that I'll mention here is Mass Effect 1.
Sure. Oh, you did more than touch that game, didn't you? Haven't you played a good amount of that game?
Played probably 5 hours of Mass Effect 1, but now I'm in a holding pattern because I want
That's
to try.
like an entire game.
So here's the situation, right?
Oh god, I like space. There's an alien. It's a gun. It's a perfect game. 10 out of 10.
I do love Mass Effect so far.
Yeah, of course you do. Frankly, I don't even think you expect that you wouldn't like it.
No, what I've said, and I'm sure I'm on camera saying this, is that when I started playing Mass Effect, I knew I'd find a series that I would fall in love with, right?
Mhm.
And I already am. I think it's old. I'm playing the Legendary Edition on Series X, but the game feels old.
Sure.
The AI is clunky. The cutscenes are very rigid, but it's like I can contextualize that. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's early BioWare stuff, right? And being early BioWare, it's also incredibly well written. The world building is really rich, and from like the first second you land on the Normandy and the game begins, like, oh shit, I'm in it, right? Because BioWare just writes characters and worlds and scenarios in a way that few other teams in the industry do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's their pedigree, right? So
yeah.
This is not new information. But taking an RPG, the Western RPG, and making a third-person shooter and putting it in space, I mean, Tucker Hazel, what else do I really want, right?
Yeah, of course.
The only problem is that Xenoblade is about to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to try Xenoblade.
Yes.
I don't know where Mass Effect filters into this. And at the same time, it's like, again, why isn't Mass Effect on Switch?
Yeah.
It would make my life
God.
so much easier. Again, this is more evidence for why I need a Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
I can't afford it right now, so I'm not gonna try. But
it's just not possible to get them right now.
It's not possible, but they keep getting those orders open. So like, I just want to put my name in that queue,
fair,
right?
Fair.
So when I have that kind of money on hand, I'm hoping like around like later this fall when I've saved up a little bit more, I want to try to get a Steam Deck because games like this would be perfect for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm telling you right now, Tucker Hazel. Well, I mean, I had to beat KOTOR because I was reviewing it, so that's kind of a different situation. But it would have been so much harder for me to get through KOTOR if it wasn't on Switch.
Yeah. Because
just the way I live.
Wait, but isn't that one of your favorite games of all time?
Right. All I'm saying is that for me, it's hard to dedicate huge periods of time to a game that's locked to my TV.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Fair. Yeah. I mean, I'm the same way. There are very few games that I get super invested in long term if it's that I somehow have to play on a PC or a not portable console. Because I just get uncomfortable having to sit on the couch. Like the flexibility of being able to just, even if it's not, take it out somewhere and play while I'm on the go, which I don't think I've done in years at this point. Playing it in my bed or playing it at my desk or something. A lot more flexibility there. And that's not a new sentiment, but most of my games that I've put a ton of time into are either before I had a Switch and it's, Minecraft and Overwatch, or it's stuff on my Switch.
Yeah, I mean, the Switch just makes it so convenient, and like, that's gonna make me sound like a fucking old man. But when I have to change out my equipment or stuff in Mass Effect, I literally get up from my couch and stand in front of the TV.
Sure, because your eyesight is that poor.
Because my eyesight's poor, even with my glasses on.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and my TV, I don't have a very nice TV. That's the other piece of the puzzle.
That's a good point.
So I get up and I'm like, okay, so I want Shepard to have this.
Yeah.
I want this shotgun instead, right? So it's like, I just fucking wish this game was on Switch. Point being, I need to buy a Steam Deck. Point being, I need to see if I like Xenoblade enough to prioritize that instead of Mass Effect. Mm-hmm. And point C, Mass Effect is awesome.
I'm glad for all of us.
All right. So those are the games I touched.
Yeah. I think I'll slide in the middle here. I'm actually not, this is funny for BLB. We usually talk about the games that we finished primarily, but I'm going to not talk about the game that I finished this past week because we have a separate plan for that one.
It's a real topical one.
Woo, no, of course. Classic BLB fashion. What do you want? What do you want from us? But I'm going to talk about just a slew of different puzzle games. I don't have a ton to say about them specifically, but over the course of the past few weeks, as you were here and then before you left, I played a number of older puzzle games that I just sort of add to this blob of them in my mind because frankly, they each have their own thing that makes them distinct in terms of puzzle game mechanics.
Yeah.
But they are largely the same in terms of structure. Of course, it's just most of them are endless puzzle games. So I played primarily. Take a look back there. Oh, oops, wrong way. I didn't even have my camera up because I couldn't see. Right there, Wordtris for the Super Nintendo.
I played this one too.
Which I got, and it's. I think there's something there, maybe, but I don't think I care enough to unlock that part of my mind that it can be possibly attuned to Wordtris because it's not Tetris at all. The only thing that is Tetris is that things fall. And guess what? Things fall in every puzzle game, unless you're playing fucking Bust a Move and then you're shooting upwards. But Wordtris is Scrabble Tetris in the way of letters fall and you have to line them up to make words, and longer words get you more points, and words with rarer letters get you more points. but the twist is that they're in this well, and there's this thing called the word C, which is a red line that letters
You
float
wouldn't be able to
on.
know it's a C, by
I,
the
I read I read the I read the fucking word twist manual. All right. That letters float on unless there's something on top of them, another
way.
letter on top of them, then it'll be pushed down. So it has a sort of centering in the middle of the play field, which is definitely a unique idea for a
Yeah.
game of this nature. Never seen that before. But the game moves so fucking fast, and frankly the controls of the Super Nintendo and controls of the game aren't flexible enough for me to feel like I really have control over where my pieces fall. And then I just can't make words longer than 3. And usually, the most words that you get when you're playing this game are on accident, and you're like, "Oh, I
You're right.
didn't mean for that to be pushed there," and then make dog or cat or whatever. And you were actually able to get to almost a full set of the game in terms of the levels. I think
Yeah.
level A to K or something like that. But it's interesting. It's definitely very unique. It comes from an era where puzzle games like this were so much more prevalent, and they were being a lot more experimental. And I think it's very fascinating, but I don't know if I can say it's a good game because it's so hard to wrap your head around if you're not like put in the hours to really figure out what the best strategies for this game are.
Yeah, I think WordTress is really interesting, like on a design level. But I also agree with you that like I'm not gonna
Yeah, you're
like
never gonna
what I
touch it
don't
again.
no.
Of course
First
you're
of all,
not.
because
You don't have the game.
I'm not a sicko, and I'm not gonna
Yeah.
go track down a copy of WordTress.
What about
And
a
if
complete in box copy of WordPress? Look at that, baby.
MFs get WordTress and make it their whole personality,
It's my Twitter header now. It's me
it is.
laying there playing
Because
WordPress.
I took a fucking magazine quality photo of you for that.
Yeah, the lighting could be better, but
I think what's interesting about WordPress is like most puzzle games are about like here, I'll put it this way. The Xbox Twitter account tweeted out the other day like what was the first game you played, last game you played, game you want
Yeah.
to play next, your favorite game, and then the last question was what game would you show a caveman? And I replied with the game I showed caveman is Tetris Effect Connected.
Sure.
Not only because I think it would literally melt their fucking brain out of their ears to see
Yeah.
Tetris Effect Connected being played, but also because I think there's a sort of caveman sensibility about a game like Tetris Effect.
Sure, yeah.
Because you fucking play and you get
caveman brain.
you get into the fucking caveman part of your brain where you just like put the shape into place, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And most puzzle games are about finding that rhythm, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
WordPress isn't, because I gotta fucking have my fucking pocket thesaurus out
Yeah.
to score any points, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like words, so I'm a smith with the words, or I try to be, right? But that doesn't really suit a fast-paced puzzle game, because at a certain point, for the first couple of rounds, it's like, yeah, I'm spelling words. For the last couple of rounds, like, fuck, I'm just trying to make sure these tiles don't stack up too high, right?
Exactly.
And you combine that with, when I say bizarre, I mean fucking deeply peculiar background art and music, and it's just like, I don't know how this game came to be.
No.
I'm glad I tried it.
Let's see if there's something that WordTress sales figures. I sincerely fucking doubt it. WordTress sales.
There's no way.
Oh, hold on. VG charts. Oh wait, no, that's like how much it costs to buy.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
whatever.
There's no fucking. There is, Tucker. There is not a 100%. There's not 100% certainty on which day Super Mario Brothers released in America. If we don't have that information for certain, we don't know how many copies fucking WordTress sold.
Also, a game that was, they developed in part with the fucking Soviet Union, so I'm sure those are not even harder to come by.
Sure.
Let's hop back to what you're playing. We'll mix my puzzle games throughout the rest of what you're saying.
Cool. Let's talk about Ollie Ollie World.
Oh,
this is a game. This is to me going to be the game that I finish before Xenoblade.
Sure.
Because I got quite a ways into the game, doing traveling and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And I think this game is quite remarkable. I got to play it in a preview capacity back last year and interview Simon Bennett, he's a co-head of Roll 7, the studio that makes the game. And I was really impressed with it in that case. And then the game eventually releases earlier this year, and just had not a great time. I'm busy finishing up school, and
Yeah.
it releases. It's like I think it went Kirby, this game, Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So I bought the game right away to support Rule 7, but I didn't get a chance to actually play it until now.
Until now.
And I love this game. I think that, bear with me here, Tucker.
I'm bearing.
Ollie Ollie World is what this gentleman wished that he could be.
Oh, sure, yeah.
The sense of sustained momentum in this game is really excellent. Now it's kind of obvious. This is what Roll 7's cut their teeth on since the first Ollie Ollie World, right? But the sort of ways that these levels are more dynamic and so much more creative in their ability to be otherworldly and peculiar, in a really curious way. The past Ollie games didn't really do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this to me already.
How many of them have you played, or any?
I haven't personally played them. A friend of mine from high school used to bring his Vita to school and play them at like lunch and stuff. But the thing about Ollie Ollie World is like it feels like a mascot platformer in its wackiness, because at the core of the game's ethos is about taking skate culture as sort of like a nebulous idea and boiling it down to this really imaginative world. Sure. So you're skating through levels that there's like inflatable frogs and X and Y and Z and aliens and everything, and this really incredible, inclusive, diverse, and compelling cast of characters that are taking you through Radlandia is the place that the game takes place in.
Of course.
And so it already feels kind of...
When are we reviewing Rad? Remember that game?
No. it's already pretty, it feels kind of mascot platformer to begin with, right? And then just because we have fucking Sonic on the brain, Tucker. That's all we play. I was like, damn.
I feel like we've left that zone, by the way. I just want to clarify for everyone.
Yeah, I don't think I'm playing more Sonic games till Frontiers comes out, to be honest. But I also played like fucking 10 of them this year, so I think it's fine. But with
Sonic
that
will forgive you.
With that on the brain, I was thinking of Sonic Advance 2, which we talked about in the last BLB episode, as I was playing Ollie Ollie World, and thinking to myself, like, yeah, a lot of my issues with the ways that it feels like momentum wasn't being sustained and everything is not a problem here, because Roll 7 is so good at conceptualizing these environments. It always forces you to, you're always moving, right? But you never feel like you're going to encounter a bottomless pit or get fucked by an obstacle you didn't see coming. By this third Ollie Ollie game, they've really mastered that level of design.
Sure.
And they just make you feel like a fucking badass. You're playing the game on the sticks, doing Tony Hawk tricks, doing everything I wish I could do on a skateboard in real life.
Yeah.
And it's just blanketed by this super imaginative world. So I love this game.
It's definitely one that I do want to try. I always thought it looked kind of fun and kinetic. But what you say about it being what Sonic wishes it was, it has kind of unlocked something in me, because I always, as I've said through all of our Sonic reviews, I think Sonic has a really cool concept, and when Sonic works, it really works in terms of having its own style and sense of momentum and stuff. But I do often feel like those games' level design is counterintuitive to that sense of speed and style that the games work so well with. And this game, actually centering on that sense of momentum in a more fluid way, I think is very interesting, and I'll play it. Best Sonic game, probably.
and that is, I mean, we've litigated Sonic so many times, so I'm going to leave it there.
Go back and watch any of the other episodes that we've done in the last, 3 months. Kirby Star Stacker. I honestly, all right, we're gonna talk about Kirby Star Stacker for 30 seconds, because I played this game for an hour and I can't. Not it wasn't even that long. And I can't really remember. But oh Jesus, oh God, what do you do in this game?
Star Stacker is the game where you're trying to clear the blocks that have Kirby's. You're trying to clear the stars by surrounding the stars with Kirby's animal friends.
Yes, yeah, you got Rick, Kine, and Koo, yeah, and then. And you feel you match 2 of each of them, and if there's stars,
let me paint the picture this way.
And you're trying to get a total of stars to clear the level.
Imagine Sonic is a star, right? And imagine these 2 snow globes are both Rick, okay?
Yeah.
If you put the star between 2 Ricks, the star clears.
Yeah.
And that's the premise of the game.
Yeah.
It's basically it's a match 3 puzzler, but the idea is you only need to match 2. You're basically making a sandwich. It's a match sandwich puzzler.
Mm-hmm. And but it's a horizontal match sandwich puzzler, because you've got match sandwich puzzlers that are vertical, like Yoshi, which I was able to actually get more into. But I do think that Kirby Star Stacker is a very unique game for this kind of matching falling block puzzler. I might honestly just go back and give it another shot just to sort of delve a little bit deeper into it. But it's another one of those early Nintendo puzzle games that has nothing to do with the series that it's named after. But they slapped a Kirby skin on it, and DDD is on the side.
You'd be bopping and scatting.
And Kirby does a little dance when you finish the level, but otherwise it's just a unique puzzler, and it's got the animal friends in it. So I thought it was really charming and kind of cute, but obviously didn't stick with me too much. But I think that's because I didn't get super into it. It's one of those games where I can sort of see myself playing it for a couple hours at a time and then forgetting about it, like I ultimately do all these fucking puzzle games. But if I had given it a more long shot,
you should do what I'm going to do and try the Super Famicom remake, which has been added to Super Famicom Online.
I don't have a Japanese account.
You've never made a Japanese Switch account?
No.
You should. It's super simple.
I made a Europe one time.
I have one for Europe, believe it or not, an American account in Europe.
Yeah.
And Europe? That's not right. Japan and Europe.
Yeah.
But I think that'd be cool because that game is like, who knows about that game?
Yeah.
Famicom exclusive, Super Famicom exclusive for a puzzle game a niche puzzle game, right?
Yeah.
So I think it'd be compelling to just boot that hot rod up and see what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Tucker, I got 3 games to talk about still.
Oh, Jesus.
And these are the 3 games I actually finished.
Yeah.
The first one I'm going to talk about is Card Shark. Now, Card Shark is a fascinating game.
Now, by the way, I just want to clarify. We did talk about this last week. So you don't need to do a full fucking everything about this game. Just sort of now that you've finished it, how do you close out on it?
Yeah, it's a fascinating game that by the end I really ended up loving, even though I continued to not be very good at it until those final moments. I think what's really nice about Card Shark is the way that I was really learning a new skill here.
Yeah.
You're learning how to do card tricks. I'm not good at cards in real life, right? So that progression to understanding, while there was plenty of times when I was quite frustrated, was rewarding in a way that I don't think a lot of gameplay experiences are rewarding for me anymore, because to some extent or another, I've seen or played something like most games I experience, you know? But there's a real sense of invention to Card Shark that I really love. And there's a really interesting narrative about like alternate European history here too. I think it's a game that people ought to try out. There's a demo on the eShop, so you should just fucking download it and give it a go. And if it doesn't click with you right away, you just gotta sit with it a little bit.
Sure.
And it might not click with you by the end, but the game is really good about giving you a lot of ways to get yourself out of trouble, whether that's full skip this one, just enjoy the story, or follow the hints, redo the tutorials, X and Y. And there's so many ways to get yourself through Card Shark.
Sure.
And it's a very, very worthwhile adventure to do. So the game's just fucking beautiful.
Yeah, that's what always drew me in. This hand painterly sort of rich browns and greens and dark reds and stuff like that for the color palette. You don't see much like it, but I think that what you said most that compelled me there was that there isn't another game like this. Period. And we don't get a lot of those anymore. Of course, it is indie games of this kind that are trying something completely different in terms of gameplay and interaction. But I'm talking about puzzle games today, and all these puzzle games are spins on the exact same fucking idea. But there ain't no Card Shark likes out there until now.
Gosh, the way you send me a new Zoom link gets my engine running. You know what I mean?
Okay, what am I doing next? Oh yeah, Puzz of Fury. Let's do the final puzzle game of the day, and this is the latest addition to Nintendo 64 NSO Online. That's Nintendo Switch Online, for those of you not paying attention, is Pokemon Puzzle League, which, as I said, has just been added to NSO, so you can go, if you have that service, you can go give it a try yourself. And it's a game that I only knew about tangentially, because I was aware of the Panel de Pon format, which this game is a reskin of. And I was aware that John Cartwright, friend of the show, was a very big fan of this game. He was very excited when this game was announced to be on NSO. But I'd never tried Penalty Upon too much myself. I think I dabbled in. There's one of them that's on SNES Online, I believe.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until you and I gave it a shot together, neither of us being experienced with this style of game,
Yeah.
And battling against each other in Pokemon Puzzle League, that I was able to wrap my head around it, and then after that, play through the campaign, or as much of the campaign as I could get through, to where I really, really like this game.
Cool.
Now, I don't know if it's one that I'll find myself returning to, like I do something like Dr. Mario or Tetris Effect Connected, or even Picross. Of course, that's a different kind of puzzle game. But this game is so unique, and not in the falling block puzzle format, but this is an anime Pokemon game.
Yeah.
There are anime cutscenes with the voice actors voicing Ash and Brock and Jesse and James and Meowth, and there's a whole overworld with all of these different locations to visit that offer you different spins on what the game is, that are styled like a Pokemon Center and a Pokemart and a gym and whatever. And in the campaign, there's a full set of cutscenes about Jesse and James trying to dress up in different costumes and steal Pokemon, probably. I don't fucking know. But I like this game a lot. I think it's actually pretty fantastic and incredibly unique.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about the actual gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was another puzzle game. I'm sure I would
Yeah.
understand the nuances more with more time.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I fixated more on was how much I don't like the presentation.
Yeah, no.
Um,
And I say it's unique, but that doesn't mean
Yeah.
I actually like that
Sure.
presentation. The N64 does not handle these anime renderings very well. It doesn't handle those cutscenes very well. It's a very garish game.
I mean, it handles them surprisingly well considering we don't have a CD format that
True.
these games are running off of.
Yes.
It's very impressive that they're on cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
And the cutscenes are whatever. I think what bothers me more is the music, which just is weird interpolations of anime songs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like, somebody posted, I think it might have been Grayson Morales. There's somebody who was like, they put a PNG on top of a JPEG on Twitter. And like that is literally the entirety of the art direction for this game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, remember the Pokemon anime?
Yeah. Here's a picture. Here's a screenshot from that. Someone clipped it out, but not in Photoshop because they didn't have Photoshop when this came out.
It's like, yeah, I do remember the anime. I used to watch it every day. Yes, Puzzle League, thank you. But I find it to be very garish. I think the game is very garish. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to say about the actual gameplay. I'd be compelled to play more Paneled Upon, but play it somewhere else, I think. But that's basically all I have to say in the game. But I also played it with you for 20 minutes. So
yeah, well, so we played it together for 20, 25 minutes, whatever it was, in direct head-to-head combat. Yeah. But then after that, while you were, I believe, in a work meeting upstairs in my room, I just continued to play the game. And I dabbled in all those sorts of different modes. And the reason I would say that while I do agree that this game presentation is garish, it certainly grew on me. I was certainly fine with it by the time that I was wrapping up my playtime. But what I appreciate a lot about this game and why I wouldn't really necessarily go back to something like the Japanese exclusive, but on an SNES Online Panel Upon game that we have through this service as well, is because this game has a lot of options. There's so many options in terms of what kind of format of this game, how you can change how long the matches are, how many points you get, different things. There's a lot of really good tutorials in the game. There is that story mode, as I said, where it progressively gets harder. And also there is this 3D mode, which I'd never known about, but essentially you're playing Panel Upon on a cylinder, which means you have to keep track of the entirety of the map and not let anything hit the top.
Sure.
That was too fucking much for my brain to handle. I lost every single time. I could not get very far in that.
Yeah.
But that flexibility, and also combined with the light but kind of fun Pokemon elements of every time you start a round, you choose from a pool of Pokemon, and then when you are sending garbage blocks to your opponent, it sends a different shape, or they affect their battlefield a little bit differently depending on the Pokemon that you chose. And when depending on who loses the one-on-one battle, they lose that Pokemon, and you have to defeat their entire team to move on. Like, it's that light Pokemon skin, but weaved into it in a pretty fun and fresh way that I think does add this a lot of replayability and unique spin as a Pokemon fan, to where I'm like, hey, that's Ivysaur, that's Hitmonlee. But But I definitely think that those elements are actually handled very well, and they don't feel just like surface level. Like you
Yeah.
are okay. I guess they're kind of surface level. It's not like this is a whole new game because of it, but it does add some variety, and certainly
Sure.
as a Pokemon fan, I'm like, hey, they put some real effort into this. This isn't Star Stacker being a reskin of whatever game that game would have been until you put Rick, Kind, and Ku as the blocks. Like that
I
has
see. Yeah.
nothing to do with Pokemon. But they say, hey, these are Pokemon battles. You got your team. There's the elemental blocks when they fall down and stuff. Like it is more Pokemon than I expected that it would be.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a good point. Framing is important for spin-offs.
True. God, give me Dream Buffet soon, Nintendo.
It's got to be next month. It's got to be. I mean, it's the last month of summer, so it literally has to be.
What else?
So let's talk about Stray.
Oh God, really wish I'd gotten to this week, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, I was watching a lot of movies that I don't really need to have watched, but I did.
I have been excited for Stray since we saw it initially at the PlayStation event, and I never quite knew what to expect. And it really wasn't until actually like a day before I actually sat down with the game that I realized that, oh, okay, so it's a narrative adventure, and oh, it's not, it's a platformer, right? And playing the game, I like it a lot. I don't love it the way that a lot of people do. And for me, that kind of comes down to two different pillars of Stray being of different strengths.
Sure.
The art direction and world building is incredible. The actual mechanical interactions in the gameplay, they're okay.
Sure.
Because ultimately, Stray is a platformer with puzzles, right? But the platforming is not free platform, it's contextual. So it's hey, does a little X prompt pop up on this thing and then hit X to jump up to it, right?
Yeah.
You don't have a free jump as your cat. You're basically traversing from point to point. And it's not as simple as there is only one place to jump. So it's not just a quick time event, effectively, right? You have to think about, okay, how am I going to get
this?
This
Isn't Uncharted climbing.
It's not Uncharted climbing. That's a great way to put it. But it's also not super engaged platforming, free platform either. And the puzzles are fine, but the puzzles are sparse, and there's some stealth sections where you're like being chased by security drones. But if the security drone is in your sight and it's shooting at you, but then you hop into a box, the security drone just like scratches its head and walks away, right?
Sure.
So it's clear that the bulk of Stray's appeal and development was not put into what the game does mechanically, right? Yeah. It's about the world, and to that point, the world design is incredible. I mean, Stray is incredible in this respect. The city you're exploring here is so dense with design. You can really just stop and marvel at like a pile of trash in a corner, right? And sort of wonder, what does that represent? Because everybody in this world now, they're no more humans. It's all these robots, right? And it's really fascinating seeing the world that was left behind and the world that's sprouted up as a result. And the point being, on the whole, the world direction and art design is so impressive. And it's cool seeing this world through the eyes of a cat. Yep. Like you'll go up to these robots, and basically everybody's head is like a computer monitor.
Yes.
And if you go up, there's this character named Granny who will knit you like shawls and stuff out of electrical cords that you collect.
Okay.
And if you go to her and you interact with her, you do what cats will do or want to do, and you'll like rub up against Granny's legs. And her face just turns into a heart emoticon. So like, oh, she's happy, so her face becomes a heart. And so it's really cool seeing these robots communicate and communicate emotion through like emoticons that we use just in text and everything, right? I think that's a really clever idea. And so I was really taken by the use of color, by the complexity of the world, the density of it. That's why I kept playing Stray.
Yeah.
Because the game is beautiful.
And you finished it, right?
I finished it, yeah. It's not a very long game, maybe 4 hours, 5 hours. And it does challenge you sometimes in sort of your ability to be attentive to the world to solve particular puzzles. But for the most part, the game is style over substance, but not to an extreme. It's what I would say is that Stray's style compensates for a lack of substance.
Sure. Okay.
Which is I think a little bit more of a nuanced way to say style over substance.
Yes.
So that's where I come down on the game.
It's a positive way to say that.
Yeah, it's an absolute must play if you have PS Plus. There is no reason not to play Stray.
Sure.
because there's a really compelling experience here. For me, it's not the 5 out of 5 that I saw from all the
Yeah.
outlets.
I mean, I've certainly seen the game getting mostly positive scores. Of course, yours is a positive score as well. But
Yeah,
some people being more on your side of feeling that a little underwhelmed by what it could have been mechanically. And
sure.
I don't know where I will come down on that because I'm certainly someone who leans more into the camp of some certain games being artistically driven rather than mechanically driven and being okay with that,
Yeah.
or even appreciative of that variety and that games can provide. But I'm probably going to give the game a try myself today. Considering
Sure.
its short length, over the next 3 days, I will have to finish Modern Warfare 3 before I leave, which, similar game. But so maybe I'll see if I can balance the two of these, Modern Warfare 3 and Stray, over the course of the next 3 days. I feel like that there's enough time in there for me to finish both these games.
That's definitely doable.
Yeah, and then of course, 11 a.m. on Friday, I peter myself over to the GameStop and I go, one Xenoblade Chronicles 3, please. I give that a sniff. I pop it in my Switch, and there we go.
Well, here's what I'm going to do, Tucker.
And then I never touched another video game again.
7 in the morning Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. your time.
That's so fucking early.
That's when John leaves for work. I'm going to walk over to my Switch. I'm going to turn on Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and I'm going to send you pictures of me playing it before you.
No, fuck. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine with me.
I'm going to isolate what I would consider to be the most spoiler-heavy things I can find in the opening hours and send them to you.
Yeah, okay.
But in different formats, so you won't, nothing will be safe.
You'll find my non-existent LinkedIn account and DM me spoilers.
I will I'll fucking text Joe and have then Joe send you spoilers. Sure. I'm just gonna go after vectors.
You're spoiling your own spoilers right now.
I'm just gonna go after vectors you would never expect. Mm-hmm. It'll be impossible to avoid.
Perfect.
I got one last game to talk about.
Perfect.
And Tucker, this is why this is called the touching episode. Because we're gonna use touching in a different sense of the word here. Because last night
that fucking advertisement of a giant finger touching Kirby. That's a weird commercial.
Last night, Tucker, I played Before Your Eyes.
Oh, yeah, touching. Oh, touching. Oh. Continue.
In multiple ways, because I played it on a smartphone.
Yes.
And the game is emotionally very. I don't even really know what to say about this game.
Okay. I'll just this will be therapy for you.
Sure.
We'll work through your thoughts. If it doesn't work, that's okay. We'll give you a rub on the back and we'll let you continue.
I think this is one of the most remarkable games I've ever played. I have it right now as my 4th favorite game of the year so far, but I feel like it could move up.
Sure.
As I think about it more. It's like I fucking feel it in my stomach talking about this game because I think that Before Your Eyes is able to tap into a level of emotion that games tap into, but not many games tap into for me.
Sure. Interesting. Yeah.
There's very few games in my life that have made me cry. There's 3. There's The Walking Dead Season 1.
I didn't even know you'd played that.
I never did. I never had access to it. That's back in middle school when I just watched Let's Plays the games that I couldn't afford and didn't have access to.
Okay.
So that's
the Let's Play.
Right. So that barely counts.
Okay.
But the death of the main character is wow, that's really I've come to really love this guy, right? But the 2 that really count, because that's basically a gimme. Last of Us Part 2 was a deeply emotional experience for me.
Yeah.
And then Before Your Eyes. And the amount I cried at Last of Us Part 2 is incomparable to how much I cried when I finished Before Your Eyes.
Sure.
What I'll say about Before Your Eyes is that it's so simple in its structure.
Yeah.
And it's so exacting in its twist that with so little, the fact that it was able to make me fully uncontrollably cry as the credits rolled is a testament to the power of this medium when you use it in a way that someone wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
The use of the blinking mechanic I never thought there was going to be a gimmick going in because I always, from what you had told me, from other people have said about the game, and I've been reading the praise of it, I was like, this is going to really matter.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't really realize how much it's going to matter until you're playing the game.
Yeah.
And you are literally, for all you're worth, trying not to blink because you don't want to leave the moment in time you're in.
Yeah.
And for some of them, I was like, okay, I'm just going to blink. I'm going to take it for granted almost. It's like,
Sure.
I don't really, it's, this scene's unfolding. Oh, there's some interesting dialogue going on, but it's okay, I'm going to blink. But as you get to the end of the game, I'm not going to spoil it here because the game being on mobile is how I was able to just finally play it. So if people are watching this, I don't want them to know what the twist is. But when you learn what the narrative is actually about, I was like, I can't take this for granted anymore. And I think that's an interesting analog for just your life in general.
Sure.
And what this game is able to accomplish in an hour, 90 minutes maybe, is force you to really think about yourself in a way that I didn't expect to.
Mm-hmm.
As you literally become the mode of the game's progression. Not necessarily your traditional gamified actions, but your actual body.
Yeah.
And the way it makes you reflect on about how you use your own time and a necessity for finding gratitude in your own life and loving what's in front of you, not what you wish is in front of you, is a perennially important message.
Sure.
And it's not a message that I expected to get from before your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And the feeling of the character's mother talking to you as the game ends, and you know what you're talking about if you play the game, as she reads to you a story she wrote, as you're beginning to cry and you try not to blink, there's no experience in any medium, any artistic medium that I've ever had that felt like that.
Mm-hmm.
The line between your life and experiencing a video game here is so thin that the space between my fingers is too wide.
Sure.
I think this is an amazing accomplishment.
No, I absolutely agree. Now, it has been a year, if not longer, since I personally played it, and I played it on my laptop here, using the laptop camera.
Yeah.
But I do think that putting it on mobile, and I'm not exactly sure how exactly it was adapted in terms of changing the view format of the it's. Do you play it in fucking hot hamburger mode instead of hot dog mode?
No, you play it in hot dog, and you basically just like swipe your finger around to look like around.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
And then you blink at your phone's cam.
Yeah, but because it has been so long.
Yeah.
I don't remember the story, and I don't know why, because I remember being very emotionally impacted by it, and I was tearing up as that game finished, and obviously I gave it an incredibly high score. It was one of my favorite games of last year, and I remember talking to you about it on Backlog Banter, but I think it's just my own weak memory, because I do have a weak memory. I mean, that's why I like doing videos, is because I don't remember my own thoughts often. But it's a game that I think I would like to revisit. And not only because now I have more readily access to it and I can more easily recommend it to other people, but because I might be able to have that emotional experience again. The only other games that I've revisited like that primarily is Florence, which is another mobile game, another one of my favorite games of all time. Does something very similar in terms of having gameplay interact with the way that you're perceiving an emotional story. But I'm gonna give it another shot eventually. I don't plan to imminently. But considering its brevity and now the access, is it just for you to download on the App Store?
Oh well, it's a Netflix games situation.
Oh, they're those sneaky motherfuckers. They're working their way in though.
They
I
are working their way in.
Two of the best games of this year. Well, and two great games this year.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm really glad you finally played it because I remember I was trying to get you to play it. And I remember as last year was wrapping up, you're like, all right, there's a few games I'm going to play. I got to play Psychonauts 2. I got to play Before Your Eyes.
Didn't do it.
I got to play something else. None of that.
Probably didn't do it.
That's okay. But now, finally getting around to things. And that is what Backlog Banter is for.
That's not my game, Stucker.
There's
there's a possibility there might not be another BLB for a fucking acre time now.
Well, yeah, there might not be. We'll see. I think that working maybe some discussion of Xenoblade as I'm working through it. I'd like to continually check in and give updates in some way, whether that's in special BLB episodes or just having a segment where I don't bring much except for talking about Xenoblade, like I did when I was playing through Bloodborne and Dark Souls earlier last year.
Yeah.
But it's not going away for good. We got some fucking plans. You know, if you stuck around here this long, you fucking deserve to know that we got some things in the can.
If you stuck around this long, you deserve to know nothing, but things are happening.
Yes, they are. Whew. And we'll see you guys at those things.